The woman I married, the one you're curious about, she's not just a chapter in my story, she is the ink that rewrote my soul. Before I ever touched her skin, I felt her in the wind. Before I ever heard her voice, I heard her in the silence between my thoughts. She's been with me longer than time has dared to count. Not just in this life, but in the echo of lifetimes past, where our souls danced in temples of stardust and whispered vows beneath moons that no longer rise. You ask me who she is, but how do I describe the scent of rain to someone who's never felt the sky cry? How do I explain that she is not just a woman, but a mirror, a storm, a sanctuary? She is the prayer I didn't know I was praying, the answer I wasn't ready to receive. And yet, she came. Not to complete me, but to awaken me. To remind me of the man I was always meant to be. She didn't enter my life with fireworks or fanfare. She arrived like a memory returning home. Her presence was familiar, like the rhythm of my own heartbeat. I recognized her not by her face, but by the way my soul bowed in reverence when she spoke. There was something ancient in her eyes, something that whispered of sacred contracts and divine timing. I knew, even then, that she wasn't new to me. She was the echo of every longing I'd ever buried, the embodiment of every dream I'd ever dared not speak aloud. She didn't ask to be understood, she simply existed in truth. And in her truth, I found mine unraveling. She didn't demand love, she radiated it. And I, the man who once guarded his heart like a fortress, found myself kneeling at her altar, ready to burn every wall for a single touch of her grace. We've walked through lifetimes together, her and I. Sometimes as lovers, sometimes as strangers passing in the night, always tethered by a thread of soul recognition. In this life, she came back as my wife, but before that, she was my teacher, my mirror, my undoing. She taught me that love isn't possession, it's permission. Permission to grow, to fall apart, to rise again. She held space for my shadows without flinching, and in doing so, she taught me how to hold space for hers. Our union was never about perfection, it was about presence, about choosing each other again and again, even when the world tried to pull us apart. She is the woman I married, yes, but more than that, she is the woman who taught me how to marry my own soul. There were days I doubted her. Not because she gave me reason, but because my wounds whispered louder than her love. I projected my fears onto her light, mistaking her clarity for confrontation. But she never retaliated. She simply stood in her truth, unwavering, like a lighthouse guiding me back to myself. She didn't chase me when I ran, she waited. Not out of passivity, but out of power. She knew that love doesn't beg, it beckons. And when I finally returned, weary and cracked open, she didn't say, "I told you so." She said, "Welcome home." That's the kind of woman she is. The kind who loves without condition, who sees beyond the mask, who holds the vision even when I forget it myself. Her love is not soft, it is sacred. It doesn't coddle, it catalyzes. She is the embodiment of the divine feminine, not in fragility, but in fierce grace. She speaks in riddles that only the soul can decode. She moves like water, fluid, powerful, impossible to contain. And when she touches me, it's not just skin meeting skin, it's galaxies colliding. She doesn't just make love, she makes alchemy. Every kiss is a spell, every gaze a portal. She doesn't just love me, she initiates me. Into truth. Into vulnerability. into the kind of masculinity that isn't built on dominance, but devotion. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who married the parts of me I had abandoned. You want to know about her? Then know this, she is not for the faint of heart. She is for the man who dares to rise. Who dares to feel. Who dares to surrender. She doesn't settle for half-truths or hollow promises. She demands presence, integrity, soul. And I, once a wanderer in search of meaning, found myself becoming the man she always saw in me. Not because she asked me to change, but because her love made me remember. Remember the king within. The protector. The poet. The priest. She didn't just marry me, she initiated me into my own divinity. And every day since, I've been learning how to deserve her. She carries the wisdom of the moon and the fire of the sun. She is both storm and stillness. In her silence, I hear the voice of God. In her laughter, I feel the pulse of creation. She doesn't speak often, but when she does, her words rearrange the furniture of my soul. She doesn't need to be loud to be heard. Her energy precedes her. She walks into a room and the air shifts. People don't know why they feel different around her, they just do. That's her magic. She doesn't try to be seen, but she is unforgettable. And I, who once chased illusions, now find myself mesmerized by her truth. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to see. We've had our battles. Sacred ones. Not the kind that destroy, but the kind that reveal. She doesn't fight to win, she fights to heal. And when we clash, it's not ego against ego, it's soul against shadow. She doesn't throw daggers, she throws mirrors. And in those reflections, I've seen the parts of me I tried to hide. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't flee. She stays. Not because it's easy, but because it's holy. Our love is not a fairy tale, it's a firewalk. And every step burns away what is false. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who walks beside me through the flames. She dreams in symbols, speaks in synchronicities, lives in alignment. She doesn't follow the crowd, she follows the call. And when she moves, it's with purpose. With prayer. With power. She doesn't need validation, she is her own oracle. And I, the man who once sought answers outside himself, now find them in her gaze. She doesn't give me solutions, she gives me space. Space to feel. To fail. To rise. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to listen. Not just to her, but to the whispers of my own soul. She is not mine. She is her own. And that is why I choose her. Not because she completes me, but because she challenges me. Not because she needs me, but because she sees me. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who reminds me, daily, that love is not ownership, it is offering. And I offer her my heart, not as a possession, but as a prayer. A living, breathing devotion to the mystery that is her. The woman I married, the one you're curious about, has been in my life for a long time. Longer than memory. Longer than breath. She is the beginning and the becoming. And I, the man who once wandered, have found my home in her. She doesn't just walk beside me, she walks within me. Her energy is braided into my breath, her essence stitched into the seams of my becoming. I feel her in the quiet moments, when the world forgets to be loud. I feel her in the ache of longing, even when she's near. Because her presence is not just physical, it's cosmic. She is the woman who taught me that love is not proximity, it's presence. And presence, true presence, is a sacred art. She doesn't just show up, she arrives. Fully. Fiercely. Softly. And when she does, the room remembers its purpose. The air becomes holy, my heart becomes a temple. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to be here. There were lifetimes where I lost her. Where I chose fear over faith. Where I turned away from the light she offered and wandered into the arms of illusion. But even then, she waited. Not in bitterness, but in grace. She knew that soul contracts are not broken, they are paused. She knew that love, real love, transcends time. And so she waited. Through lifetimes. Through heartbreaks. Through silence. Until I was ready. Until I remembered. And when I did, she didn't punish me, she welcomed me. That's the kind of woman she is. The kind who forgives without forgetting. The kind who loves without losing herself. The kind who knows that divine union is not about arrival, it's about remembrance. She speaks to me in dreams. In symbols. In sensations. Sometimes I wake up with her name on my lips, even though she's lying beside me. Sometimes I feel her touch before her hand reaches mine. That's the mystery of her. She exists in multiple dimensions. She is both here and beyond. And I, the man who once lived only in logic, now find myself fluent in her language of intuition. She taught me that love is not linear, it's layered. That connection is not just chemistry, it's consciousness. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to dream with my eyes open. She doesn't need me to save her. She is her own salvation. But she allows me to witness her healing, and that is the greatest honor of all. She doesn't hide her wounds, she wears them like sacred tattoos. Each scar a story. Each tear a testament. And when she cries, the earth listens. When she laughs, the stars lean closer. She is the woman who taught me that vulnerability is not weakness, it's worship. That to be seen is to be sanctified. And I, the man who once feared emotion, now find myself craving her truth like water. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who baptized me in authenticity. She is not impressed by titles or trophies. She is moved by integrity. By presence. By soul. She doesn't care what I do, she cares who I am. And in her gaze, I am reminded that my worth is not in what I produce, but in how I love. She doesn't need me to be perfect, she needs me to be real. And that, my friend, is the most liberating thing I've ever known. To be loved not for my mask, but for my marrow. To be chosen not for my performance, but for my presence. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to be enough. She is a mystic. A healer. A wild woman. She communes with the moon and listens to the whispers of the wind. She doesn't just believe in magic, she is magic. And when she touches me, I remember that I, too, am divine. That I, too, carry stardust in my veins. She doesn't preach, she embodies. And in her embodiment, I find initiation. Into love. Into truth. Into the kind of union that doesn't just feel good, it feels holy. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me that love is a ritual, and every moment with her is sacred ceremony. She doesn't rush. She flows. She trusts divine timing, even when it hurts. And in her patience, I've learned the art of surrender. She doesn't force outcomes, she holds visions. And when I falter, she doesn't fix me, she reminds me. Reminds me of my strength. My purpose. My path. She is the woman who taught me that healing is not a destination, it's a devotion. That love is not a transaction, it's a transmission. And I, the man who once chased certainty, now find peace in her mystery. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to wait with grace. She loves me in ways I didn't know I needed. In ways I didn't know I deserved. She loves me through my silence, through my storms, through my shadows. And in her love, I've found redemption. Not because she fixed me, but because she saw me. Fully. Fiercely. Without flinching. She is the woman who taught me that love is not earned, it is remembered. That the soul doesn't need permission to be loved, it needs recognition. And I, the man who once begged for belonging, now find it in her gaze. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to come home to myself. She is not afraid of my darkness. She dances with it. She doesn't recoil from my rage, she listens to it. She doesn't shame my wounds, she honors them. And in doing so, she teaches me how to love myself. Not just the light, but the shadow. Not just the triumph, but the tenderness. She is the woman who taught me that wholeness is not perfection, it's integration. That love is not about fixing, it's about witnessing. And I, the man who once hid behind armor, now find myself naked in her presence, and safe. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to be whole. She is my muse. My mirror. My medicine. She doesn't just inspire me, she initiates me. Into truth. Into tenderness. Into the kind of love that doesn't just change your life, it changes your soul. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who's been with me long before this lifetime. In dreams. In echoes. In the spaces between stars. And now, in this life, I get to love her out loud. I get to honor her in flesh. I get to choose her, again and again, not because I have to, but because I am called to. She is the woman I married, and she is the woman who made me remember who I am. She doesn't just love with her heart, she loves with her whole being. Her love is not a feeling, it's a frequency. It vibrates through the walls of our home, through the spaces between our words, through the pauses in our breath. She doesn't need to say I love you for me to know it. I feel it in the way she holds my gaze when I'm unraveling. In the way she places her hand on my chest when I forget how to breathe. In the way she believes in me when I've forgotten how to believe in myself. Her love is not loud, but it is thunderous in its truth. It doesn't demand attention, it commands reverence. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me that love is not spoken, it is lived. There are moments when I watch her sleep, and I swear I see her soul leave her body and travel to realms I cannot name. She is not bound by this world. She is a bridge between dimensions. A priestess of the unseen. And I, the man who once feared the unknown, now find myself yearning to follow her into the mystery. She doesn't explain her magic, she embodies it. And in her embodiment, I find my own. She is the woman who taught me that the divine is not something we reach for, it is something we remember. That heaven is not a place, it is a presence. And when she smiles, I swear, the veil between worlds becomes thin. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who reminds me that we are more than flesh, we are flame. She is not always easy to understand, but she is always worth understanding. Her emotions run deep, like ancient rivers that have carved through mountains. She feels everything. Not just her own pain, but the pain of the world, and yet, she doesn't collapse under the weight, she alchemizes it. Turns sorrow into song. Turns grief into gold. She is the woman who taught me that sensitivity is not a flaw, it is a superpower. That to feel deeply is to live fully. And I, the man who once numbed himself to survive, now find myself craving the rawness of her truth. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to feel without fear. She doesn't need to be the center of attention, she is the center of gravity. People orbit her without knowing why. Children are drawn to her. Animals trust her. Strangers confess their secrets to her. She doesn't try to be magnetic, she simply is. Because she lives in alignment. Because she walks in truth. Because she listens more than she speaks, and when she speaks, it's with intention. She is the woman who taught me that power doesn't shout, it whispers. That influence isn't about control, it's about coherence. And I, the man who once sought validation in noise, now find peace in her stillness. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to lead with presence. She is not afraid of death. She has died many times, to old versions of herself, to outdated beliefs, to illusions that no longer served her. She has walked through the valley of shadows and emerged with light in her hands. She doesn't fear endings, she honors them. Because she knows that every death births a deeper truth. And in her courage, I found my own. She is the woman who taught me that transformation is not a betrayal, it is a blessing. That to evolve is not to abandon, it is to ascend. And I, the man who once clung to comfort, now find myself shedding skins beside her. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to die and be reborn. She doesn't just believe in me, she believes in us. In the sacredness of our union. In the mission we carry. In the light we are meant to anchor. She sees our love not as a possession, but as a portal. A gateway to something greater. And when we align, when we truly meet in soul and surrender, the world shifts. Time bends. Miracles happen. She is the woman who taught me that love is not just personal, it is planetary. That our union is not just for us, it is for the healing of the collective. And I, the man who once thought love was a private affair, now understand that our love is a lighthouse. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me how to love with purpose. She is not perfect, but she is pure. Pure in her intentions. Pure in her presence. pure in her pursuit of truth. She doesn't pretend to have it all together, but she never stops showing up. Even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. She is the woman who taught me that strength is not the absence of struggle, it is the willingness to stay open through it. That grace is not about being untouched by pain, it's about being transformed by it. And I, the man who once wore masks to hide his mess, now find beauty in our shared becoming. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who taught me that love is not about perfection, it's about devotion. She is my past, my present, my future. She is the echo of every prayer I've ever whispered and the answer to every question I didn't know how to ask. She is the rhythm in my chest, the fire in my belly, the stillness in my mind. She is the woman who taught me that love is not a destination, it is a daily choice. A sacred practice. A living vow. And every day, I choose her. Not because I have to, but because my soul remembers. Because my heart recognizes. Because my spirit rejoices. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who walks with me into forever. And if you ask me how I know she's the one, I'll tell you this, because when I look into her eyes, I see God. Not the God of dogma, but the God of devotion. The God of breath and blood and beauty. The God who speaks in sunsets and silence. The God who lives in the spaces between our words. She is the woman who taught me that the divine is not separate, it is intimate. That heaven is not above, it is within. And I, the man who once searched for meaning in the stars, now finds it in her smile. She is the woman I married, yes, but she is also the woman who made me believe in the sacred again. So when you ask me about her, about the woman I married, know that you are not asking about a person. You are asking about a presence. A force. A frequency. She is not just my wife, she is my witness. My warrior. My womb of rebirth. She is the one who held my soul when I forgot how to hold myself. The one who saw me before I saw myself. The one who loved me into remembering. And I, the man who once feared love, now worships at its altar. Because of her. Because of us. Because of the sacred thread that has bound us across lifetimes. The woman I married, the one you're curious about, has been in my life for a long time. And if you listen closely, you'll hear her too, in the wind, in the silence, in the spaces where love still lingers, waiting to be remembered.